Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Raupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadha Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, translation and commentary is Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, text number 34, Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter. So, Indriyashyendriyatha, yeah. Please repeat. Indriyashyendriyashyate Ragadvesho Vavastito Tayor Na Vasham Agachet To Hi asya paripantino indriyashyendriyasyate ragadvesho vivastito tayorna vasham agachet tohi asya paripantino. So, word for word, please repeat. Indriyasya, of the senses. Indriyasya ate, in the sense objects. Raga, attachment. Dvesho, also detachment. Vivastito, put under regulations. Tayo, of them. Na, never. Vasham, control. Agachet, one should come. Tau, those. He, certainly. Asya, his. Paripantino, stumbling blocks. So, translation Srila Prabhupada. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Please repeat. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the real scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relations with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These propensities are to be curbed, otherwise there will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because the practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is the chance of an accident even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current for a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must be avoided by all means. But attachment to Krishna consciousness, or acting always in the loving service of Krishna, detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Makam karochi vachalam phangam laite girim yad kripa tamaham vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam. Indriyashyate ragadvaishto vibhastito tayo na varsan akachet chohi yashya paripantino. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So this very similar verse, I don't know if you came to the Bhagavad-Gita class this morning, this is very similar to what we were discussing, right? About Nivritti Marg and Pravitti Marg. Pravitti Marg means regulated sense enjoyment, with the goal towards Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means religiosity, following a religious principle. Artha means economic development. So generally, if you follow religious principles, then you can develop economically. If you're a wastrel, spending your money in an adharmic way, through too much attachment to intoxication and so on, and fancy clothes, spending money, then you'll be wasting money. So the goal of attaining some economic benefit will be very far from you. And then karma, enjoying the senses. And then moksha. After enjoying the senses, it's natural that one finds a desire to be liberated from this material world, because through direct experience one discovers that pure sense enjoyment is not satisfactory. And that is perfectly philosophically correct, because we're not the material body, right? So it doesn't really satisfy the soul. So that is pravritti marg, regulated Vedic system. And on top of that, what is that verse? Guna karma vibhagasha, Krishna says, that the four classes of human society, their work, their karma, is born out of their guna. So generally that is divided into four. The person, Shudra type, who wants to just labor. He wants a good master, good salary, whatever. He wants good income, and he can support his family in that way. But then there's the Vaishya mentality. That person wants to engage in business, we can say. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam, Krishna says later, 18th chapter. Krishni means agricultural activity, cultivating the land. Goraksha, protecting the cows. And Vanijam means trade. So then there is the Kshatriya type, who wants to work on a governmental function. Military man, politics, monarch as a monarch or something, or a president. And then there is the Brahminical type, that is not really interested in material activities in that sense, but he wants to realize Brahman. So the Brahman, it's stated there in the Shastra, Brahmana Janati Brahman. Who is a Brahmana? Is somebody who knows the Supreme. Janati Brahman. So those activities, Varnashram activities, they're discussed here in the 3rd chapter. And the stress is, here in this verse, is that according to your particular station, your tendency, guna karma, your guna means the influence of the material modes. For example, the Shudra, he had generally understood to be influenced by mode of ignorance, or tamagun. So he's not really interested in intellectual activities, trading activities, moral structure. He's fixed on himself and his family, his society, and he wants to enjoy life in that way. Now, and then there's the Vaishya. He is more passion and ignorance, we can say. He has passion, is there. He's desiring some economic benefit, capitalist function. Let me engage in business, make money out of selling milk and produce from the farm, so on and so forth. It's interesting to note there's no mention of factory. So of course in the modern day, the Vaishyas, they're exploiting the land in a very illicit way, ugra karma, destroying the quality of the land. So this comes to an interesting point, that the lifestyle displayed or enunciated in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Vedic civilization is that man is very symbiotic to the land. He lives on the land, and he lives by the grace of the cow also. So if you have fresh fruit, fresh grains, fresh vegetables, fresh milk. You can grow that or produce that on land, an acre of land, and you can live peacefully. And if the human society is not sinful, killing the cow, eating this, exploiting the land, then the natural environment will be very favorable. We can see now people are very disturbed, sometimes hot, very cold, this and that. So the weather is disturbed. Mother Nature is not an impersonal object, like we're educated now in the so-called modern schools, that everything is just matter. So it's there to be exploited. But we know that Mother Bhumi, she is the deity of earth. And there's statements in the Shastra that she can bear mountains, she can bear any weight upon her, but she cannot bear the weight of a liar, a sinful person, a liar. She finds that very burdensome. So now in the modern day, people are misled, many times very willingly, into just exploiting Mother Bhumi. And then they wonder why there is excessive heat, earthquakes. Of course those things will be there, but they will come to the fore as Mother Bhumi, Mother Nature, is disturbed. So above the Vaishya then there is the Kshatriya. Kshatriya means to protect. Kshatriya, deliver one from bad. So Kshatriya is necessary. Political alliances, political dealings, military functions, police force. So the leaders of those departments, they are Kshatriya. But they also have duties. It's not that they can just act whimsically and suck the money from the people. But they should be in positions of power. They're allowed to have an opulent lifestyle, but their main concern should be to deliver the people from adidevic, adibodhic, adhyatmic misery. Miseries from the self and the mind, the body, and the natural elements, and from other living entities. So they should protect. And then the Brahmin, his duty is Jnana and Vairag. He should study Bhakti Shastra, and he should teach it. He should study Yajna and teach Yajna. And he should accept charity. Vaishya and Kshatriya, I was just reading today, Prabhupada says, should not accept charity, but the Brahmin can. And one lecture, Prabhupada says that in the classic Vedic civilization, the Brahmin, besides understanding spiritual knowledge and distributing it, he would also be a learned astrologer, and he would be learned in Ayurveda. And in that way, he can tell people how to maintain health and what is the right time for different ceremonies. Like we had discussion this morning, Garbhadana and Diksha, he can give all that. And he lives by charity. But it understood that he should not be a hoarder of money. If he gets a lot of excessive money, then he should distribute it willingly to good causes. If he sits on his money, then he'll become tempted by sense enjoyment, right? So it is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right, that Kali, in Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted to chastise Kali. But so meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex did not exist in Parikshit Maharaj's kingdom. But Kali, who was beating Dharma, surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj. So it is a Vedic injunction that the Kshatriya, Parikshit Maharaj, the Kshatriya, if somebody surrenders, then they must be given shelter. Just like Vibhishan surrendered to Ramchandra, he should be given shelter. So Kali was given shelter. Okay, those things, illicit sex, gambling and meat eating, so on, they're not there. But you can have as your residence a place where money is, gold is accumulated. So we see now, in this material world, we see practically, if somebody has excessive money, often they go to hell in a handbasket, as the expression, right? They start taking intoxication, they have loose association with women of easy virtue, let's say, and they spend money willy-nilly, and they don't get any satisfaction, so they're on that path, they spend more and more, and then they will take birth in a very unfortunate condition. So the Brahman, he should be very careful about that. It's explained like that. When Rupa Goswami, he was acting as the minister of Hussain Shah, if you remember in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Sanatana Goswami had to escape from the jail. But Rupa Goswami, he retired timely from Hussain Shah's service as a minister. They were considered very fallen, the Sanatana and Rupa, because they had served the Muslim king. And so it's there in the books that he took his accumulated wealth as a minister, and 25% he put on one side for emergency, another 25% for his own personal, 25% he gave to his relatives, so they did not feel excluded, and 50% he used for pious religious activities. So that is a very nice, interesting thing to understand, those things. And Prabhupada does mention that it doesn't mean to say you just give 50% to one institution and then you're done. No, you can keep that money and then you can think, oh, Radhakund needs development, we need stones here, we need a bathing ghat here, and you can supervise the usage of that money. But that 50%, 25%, 25%, that is to teach us. So of course they were the greatest devotees. So these rules and regulations are there for money and for the brahmanas, and this is the brilliance of the Vedic system, the Vedic Varnashram. In many man-made, they're called upa or chaladharma, man-made dharmas. One size fits all. All right? You know, everyone must dress in this way. Everyone must follow these commandments or these things. Everyone must follow these man-made concoctions. We'll not mention any religions by name, but one size fits all. Or rather, you have to fit the size. Right? If you put on spandex, it will change according to your shape, right? You know spandex, kind of, I've never put it on. But but actually in those man-made religions, you have to fit. And also the atheistic, like in communism, right? You have to fit that system. And if you don't fit that system, then you're to be sent to the gulag prison whatever, you are supposed to be killed or something, you're devoid of mercy from the proposed God, you're a devil, so it's pious to kill you off, and all this. You see that in man-made religion. There's our group and everyone else belongs to the devil. But in the Vedic system, no, according to your propensities, then there's regulations, like is mentioned here. And those regulations are suitable for your situation. And I think Krishna mentions this in the next verse, right? It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, the regulations according to your position, even though faultily, even though you don't do then another duties perfectly, another person's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. It's very clear, right? Whatever's suitable to you, you engage in that. That is the Vedic prescription. And do it as best you can. Yad karosi, yad adnosi. Offer it as offer it respectfully to the Supreme Lord, and you'll make progress. And mentioned that many times before in the Bhagavad-Gita. What is piety? What is impiety? It corresponds here. Krishna tells Uddhava, 29th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, it says piety means to act in accordance with your position. And impiety means to imitate. For example, if you're not suitable for sannyas, but you try to imitate the position of sannyas, that is impiety. You'll fall down. It's better to be a grihasta, an honest, as Prabhupada would say, a gentleman, and pursue that, than to be a false sannyasi. Right? So it may seem that a sannyasi is in a higher position than the grihasta, but if he's not following his rules and regulations, and he's not suited for that position, this is impiety. So piety means to follow your rules, your prescriptions that regulate material attachment and material aversion according to your position. So you see the brilliance of the Vedic system. According to your guna, your material conditioning from past lives, a karma is there. But you also have advice to follow regulations suitable to that position. So the Brahman, he is naturally, because he is studying Brahman, he is naturally more removed from sense enjoyment because he is getting the higher taste of Brahman. Well, the Sudra may not have that consciousness, so he is allowed to enjoy his senses. But as Prabhupada explains here, he should only have sex with his wife. But he doesn't have to follow the same regulations of sexual contact with his wife as maybe the Brahmin does, so on and so forth. And the Kshatriya, he may have, we see in the Mahabharata, right? The Kshatriya may live in a very opulent way. He may have more than one wife. That is not unregulated because he's giving shelter to women and he's a Kshatriya and so on. So there's all sorts of principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and the sense objects. And so they are all described in the Gita also, 18th chapter. And so the Brahman or the Vaishnava, the Guru, knows how to engage the disciple according to his position. And give him advice that's suitable for his spiritual elevation. So that is the brilliance of the Vedic system. It is not man-made. Some idea popped into some prophet. You've all got to do this. No. That won't work, because there's a great variety of people. So therefore the Vedic system is very liberal, right? Women have one set of duties suitable to their nature, men have another suitor, the Kshatriya has this duty, the Vaishya, and then everyone can feel comfortable and everything will fit together nicely. But if you try to impose brahmachari life, say, on everybody in society, right? Then it's not going to work, because there are a variety of people. So it's very important to understand the Vedic system in this light. And so that is pravritti marg. Now of course this morning in the verse we were explaining nivritti marg. And that means atato brahma jignas, ultimately. Because what is the relationship between pravritti marg, sense enjoyment regulations, and nivritti marg? Well, nivritti marg is the soul of the social body, if you like. Right? Varnashram is the social body. The Sudras are compared to the legs, so they have a certain rules and regulations suitable to them. The torso or the belly is compared to the Vaishya. The arms are the Kshatriya. They would defend yourself and administrate yourself with the arms. And the Brahman is compared to the head of society. So that is the social body. You need all four parts. If you don't have legs, big problem. If you don't have a belly, big problem. If you don't have arms, big problem. If you don't have a head, big problem. So Prabhupada said the lack in the modern day society is the lack of the Brahman, the Vaishnava Brahman. And you see, the governmental function is now being dominated by the Vaishya function. What does that mean? What that means is that we have governments worldwide, but to become elected, you need money. And you have to take money. And where do you take the money from? The business capitalists, right? So they're not giving money for you to get elected and put on a big show and a big mailer and get votes. Once you're elected, then they say, now you owe me. I got you elected, so you've got to help my business. Right? But actually, the Kshatriya function, governmental function, administrative function, should be dominated or guided rather by the Brahminical function. Because the Brahman, he's realizing the inner import of the Shastra. So he can guide the Kshatriya, who is like the hands-on driver of society. He's got his hands on the wheel, so to speak. He can guide what is the best thing to do. But if the Kshatriya governmental function, like we see now worldwide, is guided by the capitalistic or business function, then the government function becomes controlled by the idea of money, 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 right? And this is what, and then taxation, and then the people are exploited. Also, you can also understand Varnashram, the different political systems, let's say, according to Varnashram. For example, communism is workers unite, right? It was it was a big failure, of course, communism. Everyone is bored to death. I went to Russia twice during communism, and I've never seen such a bored and unhappy people. They hardly smile when I was, really. I was with somebody and I said, look, if you can see a smile by the time we were on Aeroflot, and I said, if you can see somebody smiling, if one of the air hostesses smiles before we reach Moscow, I'll give you £1. I know we're not supposed to gamble, but you know. So that person said, oh, I'll get away with you. But it's true. All the way, 6-hour flight to Moscow, the air hostess was very unhappy. You know, in India, people smile and they're jolly, so on and so forth, but they're very unhappy. And then I saw the people, Red Square, walking in the street. They were just grey, you know, because they're forced. So communism is workers unite. Become free of the capitalist overlord. So Vaishya, the capitalism though, is like the movement of the Vaishya. What is capitalism? It means by having money, I make more money. I have money, so I make a business, through the capital, I make more money. I have capital, money, I invest it in the stock market and I make more money, hopefully. So that is the movement of capitalism. What is the movement or natural function of the Kshatriya? Monarchy. Even though we don't have monarchs so much, they're gone all over the world, we still have to have a president, right? President of America, Queen of England is still there. Every country has to have a final leader. He's the monarch. So monarchy is the natural layout for the Kshatriya function. And then the Brahmins, their natural function is anarchy, actually. But not anarchy in the corrupted idea, going around throwing bombs and trying to destroy society. But it means that the true Brahmin, the society of Brahmins, are above the Kshatriyas. They're not regulated by the Kshatriyas. They're regulated by their realization of the absolute truth. So they are regulated by themselves. Chanakya Pandit also says that if you want to convince a Brahmin, you must convince him by knowledge and argument and Shastra. If you can't give Shastra, logic and argument, the Brahmin won't agree. But if you can, then he'll agree. And oh yes, good idea. Now, if you want to convince the Kshatriya, you should praise. They're more in the mode of passion. O great king, by your grace, may we build a temple, a bathing ghat. May you distribute the funds suitably. In this way, your name will be broadcast through the world. Right? And the Kshatriya, yes, that's right. I'm coming from a great lineage, great kings. And now I must do a great work for my people. So, but that's okay. You're not like playing in an artificial way, but you're being diplomatic. And everyone likes to hear their own glories, right? You're a great king, the people are peaceful, the land is fruitful, the animals are relaxed, the cow is protected. So, should be praised. What's it called? The art of the sweet word, right? It's very much lacking nowadays. There's all these reality shows, right, isn't it? Or discussions, and they have one person shouting at another and throwing things. And no, the art of the sweet diplomacy, it's there, especially for the Kshatriya, because he's the big man. And it's okay. There's a difference between pride, false pride, and self-esteem. Self-esteem means I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. So Kshatriya, he should be given encouragement in that way. Now for the Vaishya function, if you want to convince a Vaishya, then you should explain to him how he can make some profit. If you sell this, if you do that, if you fertilize the land nicely, you'll have more produce, you'll make more money. And the Shudra, well then he should be encouraged with the carrot and the stick. If you do this nicely, if you work nicely, then you're going to be maintained nicely. The Sudras, they work, they find work or service under the Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahman. So they should be encouraged in that way. This is your benefit now if you do your duties nicely, but if you don't, there'll be a problem for you, right? It's not that you beat somebody if they're sick and not doing their work, but you there's some controlling function. So these things are in the Shastra for human society to regulate attachment and aversion. Now, but the whole point is, what's a body without a soul? Right? It's dead. Right? So, the soul of human society should be Atato Brahma Jignas. Right? The beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, Atato, now that you're human, now that you have a regulated human society, because unless Varnashram and this liberal system of finding suitability for all types of people, unless that is there in human society, it's not considered human, it's considered animal society. It's considered malecha, that's the meaning of malecha. Not regulated by Vedic injunction, but just spontaneously created according to situation or some human's idea. So it's always imperfect. So Atato Brahma Jignas, Brahma means the supreme. Jignas means inquire. So human society, they should be inquiring into the nature of Brahman. And that is possible for the Shudra type person who just wants to have employment and work and have a good job. That is possible for the Vaishya. That is possible for the Kshatriya function. And of course that is there for the Brahmins. And if you look in Vedic literature, you will find that it's not restricted by birth in any way. For example, Haridas Thakur, he was born in Muslim family, but he's Namacharya. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. And then there's many examples, is there not? Different Munis, right? Vishramita Muni, he was Kshatriya, but he wasn't good friends with Vasishtha. He's like a big rival. But he was trying to elevate himself to Brahminical function by austerities. And then there's Mary, and then there is, then there it is at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni, he was cursed. It's also, that is explained later in the Bhagavatam, but in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, he was a Gandharva. Do you know the story from Bhagavatam? He was a Gandharva, but he was a bit of an enjoyer. He was surrounded by women, and they were having in Gandharva Loka, Swagaloka, he was singing beautifully, and he was surrounded by women, and in a kind of not perfectly respectful way, he was singing the glories of the demigods. So he was cursed. Now you take birth in the Sudra family. Right? Devoid of personal beauty, because you are disturbing our yajna to the Supreme Lord. So he was born as the son of a maidservant, a Shudra, but he became Narada Muni. He took shelter of the Bhakti-Vedantas. He followed their prescriptions. They were staying in his region because of the rainy season. So they gave him instructions. He was a sober young boy, and they told him how to meditate and the aim of life. And he became Narada Muni. And then there's also another story. I remember reading once I don't know if it's associated with Radha Muni, but it was a great, I forget exactly the name of the rishi, but this boy approached. Huh? No, Subari Muni, that's a different thing. But this boy approached a great rishi, a great classic Vedic rishi, and he said, please make me your disciple. I want. So that boy, he said, he asked, who's your father? Asking from what caste do you come? So the boy said, well, I don't know my father. My mother worked in a guest house and she knew many men. So I never really knew my mother, who my father was. So that rishi said, you're telling the truth. Therefore you have Brahminical nature. Right? He didn't say, oh, my father was a great man, but he passed away. No. He said, my mother, well, she knew many men, and I was born in that way. I didn't know. So this is, often this is one thing. The Britishers encouraged casteism, actually, in their time in charge of India, because it's divide and rule. But actually casteism it should not be very strongly part of society, because the real core of society should be atato brahmajignas. Everyone should be hearing from the sadhus, hearing Bhagavad-Gita. Everyone can attend Sankirtan festival. Everyone can take mala and chant. It doesn't matter. And if that spirituality is there in society, then the superficial differences according to karma will become less. And there'll be a bondage. There'll be a cohesion of the different parts. Just like my body. I'm not angry with... My arms don't think, hey, I'm better than you, the legs. My belly doesn't think I'm better than the head. They're all working together. So hopefully in India they can break down all this caste voting, which is encouraged by democracy, it must be said, and find a cohesion, because India is 80% Hindu. So if they can vote as a bloc, then they can re-establish Vedic society in a cohesive way, instead of this internectine fighting. So this spirituality, this nivritti marg of hearing and chanting and learning about Krishna, it helps to become free of this attachment and aversion. That means what that means is you're following your rules and regulations, but you're still becoming more attached to sex life. You understand? So you follow rules and regulations with a higher purpose. You don't supposed to become attached to the rules and regulations just for their sake. You're supposed, that is called niyamagraha, right? Following rules and regulations just for their own sake, without understanding the internal purpose. The internal purpose is that you should become attached to Brahman, to the Supreme. And then all the material functions will become more cohesive, less divisive. So this is what Krishna is meaning here. We'll just... And I hear, this is a very famous section, right? Right? 33. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his known nature, because everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the modes, the guna. What can repression accomplish? Right? So if you force people to act in an unnatural manner, in an unnatural station, unnatural to them, their previous material conditioning, then they will rebel. Just like in communism, right? In Soviet Union, I went there. And they just got so fed up. The Russians, they had an expression in their society, and it was, we can't go on living like this. Because atheism was imposed. So they're not getting any rasa. They're not getting any taste. And they're all forced to just work for the state. And what is the state? It's some impersonal object, atheistic, that tells them what to do. They're not allowed to enjoy. So therefore they had to force people, right? They had the Iron Curtain. It wasn't to keep people out, it was to keep people in. Because everyone wanted. In East Germany they had an expression, I went to East Germany, they had an expression that in West Germany they said, even the grass is greener. Because though the West is spaced out and unregulated sense enjoyment, at least the people have some happiness. You know, they have some taste. Whereas if you're forced into this aversion towards acting according to your nature, then you can't maintain it. Just like a child. A child wants to run here and play with things with its friend. So maybe naughty. So you say, stand in the corner. Go in the corner. Oh, Daddy. Stand in the corner. So the child can stand in the corner for 2-3 minutes, right? But then he'll start kicking his hands, becoming angry, and he'll run out of there, even if Daddy says, stay there, I told you to stay there. Huh? So you can't repress the inner nature unlimitedly. You can't, but that was the communist idea, right? Re-education camps, you may have heard that. They thought that the human being is a bag of chemicals. You can turn them, re-educate them into servants of the state. You say, no, because they are spirit souls in a material body. So the spirit soul wants to have variety, enjoyment, and in accordance with its material conditioning, he wants to act in this way. So you can't repress that, but you can regulate it so that within that regulation the senses are satisfied, but then the Brahminical and Kshatriya function can make sure people are realizing the absolute truth. And Lord Brahma, what does he say in the 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam? He says, Stani Shrutikatan Tanuva Manovir. He says, whatever your situation is, just stay in that and hear. Stani Shrutikatan. So it doesn't matter if you're man, woman, old, young, have a Kshatriya business function, Shudra function, Kshatriya function. Whatever your situation is, continue in that way, but Stani Shrutikatan. Hear the narrations about the absolute truth. And then you'll become elevated. And then it doesn't matter. Then you transcend your Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahminical conditioning, and you become transcendental. Then you become a pure Vaishnava, Uttamadhikari. And it doesn't matter if it's from a Sudra position or a Kshatriya function, because it's only dependent upon the mercy of Krishna, right? And that mercy is there in the narrations given by the Uttamadhikaris. It sparks the soul. So that is the Vedic prescription, Vedic society. And that is why Prabhupada said, my mission is only half done. I've given all the books, all the knowledge, directions for other books to read and so on and so forth. But now I want Varnashram. So how to start that in ISKCON? Very easy. First research and then start using the language. But at the same time we maintain our hearing and chanting, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. And then naturally the external function of society will become regulated by the grace of Krishna. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We'll finish on that point. Any questions? Points of discussion? Contributions? Can anyone, you're all learned people, can anyone tell me more stories about Vaishyas that became devotees and stories from the Vedas in that way? There's a story of Narada Muni, there's a story of different rishis. What's that one? That one, who wrote the Valmiki Ramayana? Valmiki, right? He was a Gunda, was he not? Huh? Huh? Sorry? He was a hunter, yeah, he was a hunter and robber. He was, and I think it was who was Narada Muni, yeah. So Narada Muni, there's a perfect example. He was so sinful from his hunting, and then there's a story in Chaitanya Charitamrita, also about the hunter. Huh? Mrigari, yes. Anyway, but Valmiki, it's explained that he was so sinful, he couldn't even say the name of Ram. So Narada Muni said, okay, then chant Mara, right? Mara, which means death. So if you say Mara Mara Rama, it becomes Rama Rama, right? Mara Mara Rama Rama Rama. So he was chanting the name of Mara and it became Ram. And he got so involved in his chanting that he wrote the Valmiki Ramayana prior to the Ram Leela, correct? Right? And then there's Mrigari. Have I got the pronunciation right? Mrigari, yeah. So he was trained up by his father to half kill animals and enjoy them dying slowly. Very terrible, distressing to think. But it was Parashara Muni and not Nari and his guru Parash. Parvat Muni, that's right. So he was also initiated, and he said, but before initiation, he said, throw away your bow, right? He said, well, how will I support myself if I don't become a hunter and selling meat to such people? He said, no, throw it away. Krishna will provide for you. So he was staying with his wife, I believe, right? And they were chanting. And then the local people, they saw his spirituality, and they used to bring grains. That's the custom, that when you see a saintly person, visit him, you should give some daan. So then he had more food than he could handle. And then when they came back to see him, he was dancing on the path, because he didn't want to stand on the ant, right? So that's the touch of the Vaishnav. So that's what Prabhupada wants in society. People, whatever their situation, they should take the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. All right? And then all bad qualities can go away. All right? Huh? Magrari.
Good quality. Gunagrani.
Gunagrahi. Yeah. Oh, that's the meaning. Good. Yes. Then all good qualities, because the soul, everyone is good, huh? Everyone is angsa of Krishna. Therefore, what is it? The Brahman. What is that? Pandita Samadashina. Sune chaiva swapake cha pandita samadashana. That it doesn't matter if you're elephant, animal, human. The Pandit sees spiritual. You're a soul. So let me bring you out of the material conditioning and turn you into a Prem Bhakta. Lord Chaitanya ki jai. Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada, Sadhu Sangha ki jai. So, thank you all very much.